So hi guys, so welcome back to my channel. So today is Sunday and tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning I am going to have surgery. So my mind is like going like 10,000 miles a minute and I don't know. And sorry, I'm just gonna sit and kind of talk a little bit about what's been going on, what's happening. So last year around April in 2018, we made an emergency trip down to Alabama, and in that emergency trip, And in that emergency trip, me and my husband, we drove straight through. So clear from South Dakota all the way to Alabama. It's a very, very long drive. Normally we split it up into 2 days. But we literally drove straight through. Took us a little bit over 24 hours to get there. And so I stayed, we stayed with Tony's sister, Donna. Thank you. I love her so much. And so it was kind of like just unexpected. And so we forgot a bunch of stuff. So I didn't really bring blankets and pillows and stuff like I normally do. So I was without all of my extra pillows because I like to have a pillow so I can hug it. So I was without that and things like that. And, so it kind of put a lot of strain on my shoulders and stuff. And so then on the way back, we did the exact same thing. We drove straight through, and then not even a month later, we went back down and we did pretty much the same thing, except for we had our 2-year-old niece with us. And so about midnight that first night, she's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to be in a car anymore. So we stopped, I think it was in St. Louis, maybe a little before, a little after, and we spent the night and then we continued on the next day. And so, and we did pretty much the same thing on the way back. And so it was just a lot in a short amount of time. And my shoulder really, really hurt at that point. It was my left shoulder. And I was just like, okay, I'm like, with all that driving, all that extra stress, so I'm just like, I'm just assuming that's what's causing this. Is it was like, all of that driving, all of just everything all mixed into one. And so we continued building our fence because we were in the middle of building our fence in the backyard, and I had helped my husband, and that day I was like, dude, my arm is just like, it's gonna fall off, I swear to God. And so we actually ended up going, it was on a Saturday, went to like an urgent care. They're like, oh, well, just don't overwork it, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, there's, we don't see anything wrong. And so, a little ways down the road, I was just like, okay, maybe I just need to rest it. And so I just tried my best not to use my arm, just tried to rest it and not sleep so much on that side, because my left side is my favorite side to lay on. So my shoulder definitely gets a lot of, shoulder bedtime, I guess. And so I had to kind of like be mindful of that. And I think it was maybe in September, it was really bothering me again, to the point where I ended up going to the ER because it hurt so bad. They took x-rays, they couldn't find anything. Then, and then they just sent me home with some prescription drugs. Like, here, take this, it'll take care of your pain. It's like, that didn't do anything, but whatever. So I ended up going back a second time, and there they gave me a sling, and they're like, okay, well, your x-rays look fine, we'll give you a sling, just keep it on there, So nothing, once again, nothing. And so I ended up calling my regular doctor. I was like, this, it's not working. I'm just like, it hurts so bad. So they're like, well, we can't really do anything for you, so we're going to refer you to orthopedics. And she's like, there's a walk-in clinic that you can do for orthopedics. So I was like, oh, cool. You know, I'm like, I can just go there and walk in without an appointment. And so I did the walk-in thing. I was there for like 10,000 years, of course. And so they're like, oh, well, you know, we'll give you a shot, you know, we'll give you a shot in this AC joint. They gave me I think it was a cortisone shot, I think, a steroid or something. I'm not really entirely sure. But they're like, it's gonna help with pain. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so the best part about that shot was the numbing agent that was with the shot, which was beautiful. I was like, yes. It was so great because I was without pain for maybe an hour or two. And then it was just like a switch, and it was just like, well, crap. It's like, here we are again. So then I was like at that point where I just gave up, because I was just like, people are telling me there's nothing wrong, and they're supposed to give me this cool shot that's supposed to take care of it. Nothing worked. So I'm like, well, whatever, I'm just gonna forget about it. And then come January of 2019, so we're going on 10 months now, I was like, maybe it's the new meds, because in April I started a new med, and then that's when my shoulders started hurting, and I seen like some of like the rare side effects are like muscle aches, and I'm like, it's not really a muscle ache, but I'm like, maybe it's related to that. I don't know. So I made an appointment with my primary doctor, and she's like, that doesn't sound like a side effect of this. She's like, well, let me pull up your x-rays. And she pulls out my x-rays, and then she's like, well, they put a comment on your x-rays. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, there's some, I don't know what she called it, like some osteoarthritis or some big weird word in my AC joint. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, that's what they wrote in there. I'm like, they told me my x-rays came out fine. They told me there was nothing in my x-rays that would indicate what was wrong with my arm. And I'm like, what do you mean they put a note in there saying that there was something potentially wrong? My mind was just like, are you serious? Because I was so mad when she told me that. I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, it's right here. And I'm like, they told me my x-rays were fine. I'm like, what in the world? I was so mad. I was just like, ugh. So then she's like, well, we'll refer you back to orthopedics. And I'm like, oh, good. I can't wait. Considering the first time it went so well. So went back to orthopedics, but this time I actually got like a shoulder doctor, you know, and not just some random freaking Joe Schmo there for everybody. I went in and they were like, oh, well, this is what potentially could be going on. And so he's like, what we're going to do is we'll schedule you for an MRI. We'll see, you know, what happens then. And that was the end of the appointment. And so I was like, okay. So on February 4th, I had my MRI scheduled and got that all done. And then I had to wait till Valentine's Day on the 14th to get my results from my MRI. So I go in and get my results. I will put a picture up showing Bertha. She is the inflammation that's in my shoulder. So what they were expecting showed out on the MRI. Where my AC joint is, my bones are sitting there rubbing together, so it's causing a bunch of inflammation. And as you see in the picture, the big inflammation will be circled in red. This is all inflammation, and this is Bertha, by the way. So that is Bertha. She's big and meaty. Probably about the size of roughly 2 ping pong balls. This issue's been going on for what, 11 months now? 10 months? I'm like, cool, now I finally figured out what's going on. Now what do we do? And so they're like, well, we're gonna try another shot. And I'm just like, cool, let's do another one. Pretty sure it's not gonna work because it didn't work the last time. And he's like, well, if it works for 3 months, then you can come back. And I'm thinking that he thought that because the last time I seen somebody was in September and it's now January to take another shot. He's like, oh, well, if it works that long. I'm like, no, it didn't work that long. I gave up because everybody was telling me there was nothing wrong with my shoulder. So I'm just like, ugh. On the 14th, when they went over my MRI, is when they gave me that other shot. March 12th, I went back and I was like, this isn't working. I'm like, it didn't do anything. I'm like, if anything, Bertha's back and she's really mad. She's really mad. And that's exactly what I told him. I was like, she's mad and she's back and she's worse. She's super mad. And so he's like, well, he's like, here's the deal. He's like, we've exhausted all of our options. You know, he's like, with time, with shots, the next step is surgery. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's do this. Let's go. I'm ready. Can we do it today? I'm like, is that an option? I'm like, I am so ready for this. I'm like, I don't care what you have to do. If I have a giant scar on my shoulder, I don't care. Because I'm like, I'm at this point where we're almost a year in. We're at 11 months now. And I'm just like, I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm done with this. I don't care what you have to do. And like I told him, I was like, I don't care if you have to cut my arm off. I don't care. I'm like, I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of the pain. I'm tired of living with it. And here we are 11 months later with trying to figure out what the hell has been going on. And it took 4 appointments after seeing this doctor. It took 4 appointments to figure out what was wrong, you know. It took one visit with this doctor to, you know, figure out what was wrong. We confirmed it. We did a shot, and now we're doing surgery. So 4 visits later in his office. So thank you to Dr. Kurtenbach. Hello. So I am going to go in for surgery on my shoulder tomorrow. I have to be there at 5:30 a.m. and I'm nervous. So that's kind of like the journey on how we got here. It's been a very long road. But, so basically what they're going to do is they're going to go in and it's all like done with just like they're just going to be little tiny incisions, and they're going to go in with like a camera and like a shaver, and they're going to shave down part of, I think they said they were going to do my collarbone, shave down part of my collarbone, because where they're clinking together, they're rubbing together and they're clinking, and then they're causing all that inflammation. Well, they're causing Bertha to grow. So what they're going to do is shave down some part of my collarbone so it's not sitting there clinking together, and hopefully Bertha will disappear, and hopefully so will the pain. And I look forward to that day. So, but I am, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you like how nervous I am for tomorrow. I am very 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. So, me being the person that I am, I don't have a living will or anything like that. And, it kind of got me thinking a little bit, you know, it's like I'm having surgery. I'm going to be put under, you know. I'm like, if something should happen, there's nothing that says, hey, this is what I want to happen, you know, with specific stuff, or with, you know, my funeral, if I want a casket, or do I want to be cremated, things like that. So, and like I said, I'm 0 to 100, okay? I don't expect anything to go wrong, but I want to be able to be covered if something does go wrong. You know, I hand wrote a letter to my husband and to my mother, of what some of my final wishes would be. You know, I just wrote out some of the things, you know, that I wanted to be cremated, that, you know, obviously my husband was going to get my possessions. There was nothing really specific that I had in mind for anyone. I'm like, if there is something specific that you want, talk to Tony and hopefully you can, you know, work that out. And then I just basically left a note for every one of my family members, just kind of, you know, if something were to happen, it's like my final goodbyes. You know what I mean? Like what I want to say to them if I wouldn't get the chance to say it again. You know what I mean? So my mom's like, am I going to cry? I'm like, you don't have to read it. I'm like, you don't have to know what it says. I'm like, it is there in case something does happen. That's the only reason I wrote it out, is so they could tell it's my handwriting. I signed it. You know, my mom and my husband got, I wouldn't say identical letters, but like everything's fairly the same. I might have changed some like verbiage around, but it's the same kind of principle. And so that is where we are right now. So I'm gonna try to get as much of this on camera as I can. I'm gonna try to vlog this as much as possible, and I'm hoping that I can get my husband on camera, like maybe while he's waiting to figure out, like, I want to pick his brain, like I want to know what he's thinking. So definitely stay tuned for that. We'll definitely give you guys updates and stuff throughout the first couple of weeks, and then from on then to see how things are going. So yeah, we will do some catch-up videos later, and I hope to see you guys in the future. And here we go.